Ugh. Yep. Comment your thoughts. Fuck. That's a punch to the gut, a big punch to the gut. Yeah, first of all, to anyone who is going to comment and say Jack Higgins cost us that game, he wasn't the only one. He had close to his best game for the club. I know he kicked 1 goal 6, and 6-1, and we win that game pretty comfortably, but he was huge. He had over, I think, 11 or 12 marks, 7 shots on goal, 23 disposals. Massive. He wasn't the only one that missed some shots. Going into this game, someone just commented saying he was 16 goals 7. He was one of our straighter set shot kickers this year, and our fucking luck. He has that one game. Why couldn't he do that last week when we were beating North? But we get the rough end of the stick again, and we only have ourselves to blame. Just to rub salt into the wound, though, the umps have to give Sydney a dodgy free kick in the last 30 seconds. Make it look like we didn't have the chance to win the game. But yeah, we shot ourselves in the foot again. This is Geelong all over again, but worse. We should have won that game in the last quarter. We did so much right, and this is classic Saints footy. We did so much right, put ourselves in the contest. Anytime Sydney got on top, got 16, 17 points up, which they did, I think, in the first quarter, third maybe, and fourth early on when they kicked the early goal. We found a way to work ourselves into the game, and that was probably the highlight. Would have been stealing it at the end and winning, and that would have been a galvanising win and one of the best wins in our club's history based on our form at the SCG, only winning, I think the last time was 2009 in round 18 by a point. But to keep fighting like we did is something we haven't really seen enough of from a Saints team. We've copped some floggings, and this had all the makings of that early, and we just kept fighting, we kept finding a way. We made a lot of mistakes, but what we lacked in skill, we made up for in effort, and I'm not entirely sure what the overall tackle count was, but our pressure was pretty huge. It dropped off in the third, but it lifted very late, and if it wasn't for a couple of misses, I'd be sitting here with a big smile on my face, drinking some red wine and ready to celebrate. But that's the result we get. We go down by 9. Brad Crouch was huge. I'll just look at some of these numbers now. Jack Steele, 31, 9 tackles. Brad Crouch, 38, most by anyone, I think, on the ground. 6 tackles. Jack Higgins, 23 and 12 marks. Paddy Ryder, 16 and 34 hitouts. Membry, 20 and 2 goals 2 with 8 marks and a lot of important marks in the back half, which was great to see, knowing to see him go back there and stop some of that Swans momentum. And Brad Hill, obviously, 25 disposals, had 18 in the first half, dropped off in the second half, but, that's the Brad Hill that we wanted. 545 metres gained, did as much as we could have asked for him. I think he had the most metres gained on the ground, or close to it. He had the most on the ground, with Jake Lloyd being next. But I was talking to Joycey and Marshy during the game in our podcast chat, and, there's so much right with this team, and then there's just those little instances in games where there's a simple kick on and we have players that simply can't execute under no pressure or minimal pressure, if that. And I'm going to go for 2, and I'm not picking on them for the whole game, but these are the players I think that just won't allow us to be that top team that we really want to strive to be. Seb Ross missing that shot before half-time to put us, I think, a point down or level. Running into an open goal and missing. Compose yourself. You're a senior head and you just shank it. You shit yourself and you shanked it. The next one, and I think this was in the first couple of minutes of the 4th term, and it turned over. Claviniero stuffed up the handball and Sydney kicked the goal to put them 16 points up. But we have the ball at 60 out. Luke Dunstan has the ball. Tim Membry has got a good lead going, bit of space on his opponent. What does Dunstan do? He scuffs it along the turf, instant turnover, straight down the other end, one-on-one defenders and attackers, one being Claviniero in his second game with Buddy roaming around. Obviously, he's not experienced yet. He's prone to mistakes. He makes the mistake and they kick a goal. That wasn't his fault. That was another senior player that's been around for a long time that can't execute the basics, and it put us behind the 8 ball within a minute where we were chasing the game already. It was already going to be hard enough being 10 points down. Those are the mistakes that haunt me in those games. Obviously, the big ones are those easy misses, but it's the ones that aren't under any pressure that hurt even more. Seb Ross runs into an open goal. Easy. But he tries to mimic Josh Bruce from a couple of years ago. And then Luke Dunstan with a little chip. Dunstan did a bit right. Don't get me wrong. What did he finish with? He did some nice things. What he did, he had 25, 4 tackles, 343 metres gained. Not a bad all-round game. But it's in those critical moments that you need some composure, you need some class, and we were frenetic all day. We rarely lacked that polish. And Lance has just brought up Hunter Clark. Those were the moments where you needed the ball in Hunter Clark's hands. And we saw that so many times last year in tight games against Gold Coast, against Port Adelaide, in the final against the Western Bulldogs. There was so much there that we were under pressure. We just needed a player with composure, a player that was able to dodge a play and hit a target. And tonight we needed that. And we couldn't get the ball into Hunter Clark's hands. I don't know if he was still injured. I don't know exactly what was his problem. He finished with... I can't even find him on this list. He finished with 9 disposals. 9 disposals of Hunter Clark. So that's unlike him. That's probably his lowest for the season. I don't know if we've rushed him back and we were desperate for him. But that's very unlike Hunter Clark this season. But you know, we were down in clearances early. We found a way. We just kept finding ways to create chances, which was the most pleasing thing out of the game, was that there were so many instances where it looked like I thought, okay, we're done. We're fucked here. And we found a way to get it from one end to the other and get a shot on goal. It was a bit of a worry that Jack Higgins was our number 1 lead up forward for the day with 12 marks, considering he's one of the shorter players on the ground. And then you've got him with 12 marks, but if you flick it down the other end, Max King took 1 mark for the day. 1. He had a chance in the last quarter to make amends. He helped Battle get 50 metres and kick the goal. I think that was also in the third or last quarter. But 1 mark for Max King again just doesn't look like he has that belief. And I feel like until Max King takes the game by the scruff of the neck, until he believes in himself, it's almost linked to the belief in the team. When King's clunking and he's playing well and kicking straight, we as a team are playing well and kicking straight and winning games. When he's down and doesn't look like he believes in his own skill and his own talent, it looks like it goes through the whole team and we just don't believe in ourselves. Tonight was different. He wasn't on and we looked like we believed that we could win this game, but it was up until we actually got the chance to score where we just freaked out. We couldn't compose ourselves. It's like we don't know how to kick goals anymore. And we did actually kick more goals than behinds. Let's put that there. 12-11. Sydney kicked 13-14. 3 or 4 of those were clear rushed behinds. But there was a lot more right about today than the result probably suggests. We deserve to win this game. We should have won this game late in the piece. But again, as we know, bad kicking is bad football, and we've played a lot more bad football this season than good. And unfortunately, in the last couple of minutes when the game was on the line, the game was there to take, we couldn't kick straight. And Sydney, although they kicked 14 behinds, a few of them were rushed, they kicked some when it counted, you know. They put themselves 16, 17 points up consistently, and we were just chasing the whole day. So they would have felt robbed. I wouldn't have given a shit. But now this puts us at 5-7 going into Adelaide next week. And really, this was the game where I thought if we pinch this, we go into the Adelaide game next week full of confidence. Then we have the bye with players like Zach Jones, Rowan Marshall, and Dan Hanbury coming back. And geez, you look at results like this in the Geelong game and you're wondering if we had had Zach Jones, Rowan Marshall for all of those games fit, and maybe a Dan Hanbury, our season could be so different. But we just get the rough end of the stick. We have to deal with it. You know, I thought Ryan Burns did some really nice things. He kicked some clutch goals. He showed some composure late. I'm not sure entirely what his stats showed. He had 13, kicked 2, and had 0 tackles, 4 marks. But he did a lot for his 5th or 6th game of league football. I thought that Highmore did some nice things late, and it was interesting playing him forward, but he looked composed and did enough. Dan Butler started well early and late, I think 6 forward half tackles, so that's when you know that we're on, when Dan Butler's tackling. I know that someone just said that Dan Butler didn't have much impact, but I thought that he had 4 tackles in the forward half in the first quarter, and I thought, well, we're down, but if Dan Butler's tackling in the forward half for us, or the back half for Sydney, and putting their defenders under pressure, that's kind of the barometer for us, is when our forward half pressure's on, and it was for the majority of the game. I don't know entirely what the team stats were. We'll just quickly take a look, but I feel like we were pretty well represented in the tackle counts and across most of the metrics, apart from, you know, the kicking in the end. But yeah, I'm not. I couldn't say you couldn't really be disappointed with this result because of just the sheer want and the fight that the boys showed. And every time we lose badly, I always say, look, we'll take an honourable loss because we want to see effort. We want to see players playing for the jumper and fighting and want to represent the supporters and the club proudly. And all day today, we chased, we tackled, we fucked up, but we kept trying. We didn't go into our shells. We took the game on late. It was risky, but it needed to happen, and it got us into a position where we could have won that game, apart from a few misfires in front of goal. But that's kind of my take, guys. Honestly, this to me is the worst loss of the year. I say it every week when we lose, that's the worst loss. But today, this was just the punch in the stomach. You know, that sickening feeling like, oh, is this the season over? I never want to say that, but I know a lot of people will say that. But if we play like we play today, with the intensity we played with today, but we kick straight, we challenge a lot of teams. It's just that we don't capitalise on our dominance. Good teams capitalise when they're on top. Brisbane did it yesterday. They got 20 points up. But then when Melbourne got on top, they capitalised. They bridged that gap, then they took them on in the last and burnt them out. You see it with all the teams, especially Sydney today. When they were on top, they capitalised. They got 15, 16 points clear. We could never get that run on. We only did it when we were behind. And we work hard, kick 3 or 4 goals, but that's only enough to get us level, not enough to get away with a good 10-point lead, and you build on that. We're always chasing, and when you miss late goals like that, it's only natural. You put your heads down, you're like, God, how many more chances are we going to get, you know? So you feel for the defence because they worked hard today. The mids worked really hard. All of them had big games. Jaron Geary went off with, I think, a dislocated shoulder. He was throwing his weight around. Battle would have been good to see him take the game on a bit more, especially because King wasn't doing that. And if King's not doing that, I would want to see someone like Battle put that on his shoulders and say, okay, Maxie, step aside. Your game's not going on. It's not working for you. I'll take this one. I'll take one for the team and I'll try and throw myself around. But it's just one of those losses. You know, I hate these losses where Sydney enjoying their song, and they deserve it. They've been as consistent as any team. They're 8-4 now, and we should have beaten a very good team in Sydney. If this was at Marvel, I don't know how the game would have panned out. But now we just need to beat Adelaide, go into the bye, and get some of these injuries back. That's the only thing we can wish for. We can't imagine losing to Adelaide. If we do, absolutely the season's over. We go into the bye 6-7 with a few players to come back. Then you've got Collingwood and Richmond, I think, after that. It's, you don't know. But I'm not even going to talk about finals anymore. We just want to see some consistent performances. This, although we lost, was a step in the right direction. Last week, we played better today than last week, and we lost. But it's just because we just didn't take our chances, and we played a better team, and they took theirs when it counted. So Sydney just have something over us. We beat them last year, but it was at the Gabba. In Sydney, we just can't seem to find a winning formula. But yeah, disappointing. Let's go through some of these comments and let's see what you guys reckon. Cameron says, we played well today, better than most weeks we've played this year, but damn, this loss fucking hurts. Yeah. It'd be hard-pressed to find a Sainter that doesn't feel a bit sick after that performance, knowing that we put so much into that, knowing that most of the players probably thought, if we don't win this, the season might be cooked. But we just hope that each week the players don't think like that. We don't want the players going into next week thinking, well, the season's done, what's the point? We just need to go out every week and see what happens. It's a funny season. There's so many teams that are at the top winning games like Melbourne, which is a good thing for us because a lot of the teams between 6th and 10th are still only 1 win or 2 wins and a bit of percentage ahead of us. But there's a bit of a logjam there. So that might help us. It's not one of those years where it's kind of a spread across the board in terms of win-loss. There's a lot of teams at the top winning games, namely Bulldogs and Melbourne and Brisbane, and now Sydney, and then there's a bit of a gap with teams on 6 wins and we're on 5. So we need to hope that some of those teams that are on 6 wins just above us this round lose. So Richmond, we want Richmond to win tonight so that they hold Essendon back. So it's like last year now, annoyingly. We're going to need to worry about a lot of results and take care of our own, which is shit, because you just want to go out there and play footy and not worry about that. I'm going to try my best not to and just ignore every other result for the rest of the season and just worry about Saints footy. But yeah, it's going to be very difficult from here to see us sneaking into the 8 unless we do something special. But it's more the percentage that hurts us. The win-loss hurts, it's hard enough. But when you've got 76%, that hurts even more. Jack Higgins was our best player. That's from Joe. Dean says, don't compare us to Melbourne. We are miles off the top 8, bottom 6 side at best. Yeah, Dean, not sure when I ever fucking compared our team to Melbourne, mate, at all. I don't know in this what review you're watching right now, but not once did I say that we're like Melbourne. Not once. It would be stupid for me to say that. Melbourne are flying 11-1. We're 5-7 with our season on the canvas, so I don't know what you're talking about. Xavier says, we are done. What's the strategy for the club for the next 2 to 3 years? We aren't playing finals with this current side. Too many players are not up to it. I wouldn't say too many players. I'd say there's 3 to 4 that aren't up to it. And you put in Marshall, you put in Jones, you put in Hanbury, Bytel gets a game. 4 players there that should have been playing today. 3 of them injured. 1 of them dropped for some reason that wasn't an emergency. But I don't know what Ross and Dunstan bring that Jack Bytel doesn't bring. I don't understand that. Can anyone comment and tell me, apart from experience, what do those 2 bring that Bytel doesn't? I think Bytel's the future. He's a better ball user. He's as good inside, and if anything, he's better outside and has more composure. And he's only played about 14 games of his career. So I don't know what the logic is there of not playing Bytel and you're playing Dunstan and Ross. The only reason I can think is maybe it's for some currency at the end of the year to see if we can trade some of them. Brett says, are you serious about making finals? Saints can't win a coin toss. Fucking useless. Thanks, Brett. Fully appreciate your comment there, mate. Very smart thoughts. I didn't say that we're making finals. I'm just saying that I'm not even going to worry about it. Everyone just constantly loves talking about all the negative shit. I'm just focus on the football. Go next week, support the boys if you can in Cairns. If not, whatever, watch it from home. But I'm almost at that point now where there's so much energy being put into the club from me, from you guys. I mean, I live and breathe it every day because I have to run this page. Sometimes it drives me mad, especially when we're not going well. Last year was a blessing. This year it's extremely tough. So just in terms of mental health, I need to take a step back and not worry about the results as much. I don't know how you guys are going to deal with it, but if we bring the same effort next week and we kick straight, we win. Simple as that. Whether we make finals or not, it's irrelevant, but we still want our boys to win. You know, we don't want them to go out and lose just because they can't make finals. And we also just, even if they, realistically can't make finals, we don't want them playing thinking that. That's not a good message. We want them playing to win every game they play. Luke says, we're in it all day, and yet we were just that goal or so behind them all day. Yeah, it was just the cleanliness in front of goal. Just even Buddy Late just has that bit of class, bit of composure, sets them up. And he always gets the better of us eventually. Buddy didn't have the biggest day, but he set up as many goals as he kicked. So it's hard seeing him run around dominating us, but I thought we managed him well. I thought Dougal Howard did as well as he could have on someone like Buddy Franklin. I think Buddy kicked, 2? One from a free kick and one in the first minute of the game. So apart from that, I think our defence handled him well. Logan McDonald kicked a couple. I thought our defence stood up as well as they could have, and it was more the other end. We just couldn't capitalise when we were on top. The defence did as well as they could have. The mids fought hard, got us enough drive late to get the score, at least the chances to score on the board. And again, we just couldn't convert. We'll not go anywhere with Ratton. That's from Ryan. That's a harsh call, mate. I don't know what your logic is there. Why do you think we're not going to go anywhere with Ratton? He took us to finals last year, got us to finals when he's had to deal with a lot of injuries this year, a lot of inconsistencies with players. Today he was unlucky. You can't pin today's loss on Brett Ratton. It's simple as that. He got us in a position to win the game. Same with Geelong. That was another game where we should have won that game, but it was bad kicking that cost us. That's 2 wins there. Swap that around and we're 7-5 and we're looking good going to the Adelaide game. But bad kicking is bad football, as I've said a billion times this year. And when our forwards are missing goals, you can't blame that on Brett Ratton. That's the responsibility of the player. And right now we don't have enough players that are taking that pressure on, composing themselves and living up to the moment. They want the moment over with very quickly and rush through it. Is it time for Max King to have a week back at Sandy, help build some confidence and find his mojo? That's from Nathan. I've had that question asked a lot, but is Sandy even on? With Victoria in lockdown, I'm pretty sure there's no VFL football, so that's probably why we're trying to minimise the amount of changes we're making, because we just don't have the luxury of playing anyone in the VFL. Our depth's not as strong as what we thought of going into this year because of the injuries we've had. We don't have the luxury of dropping players, bringing in players that are ready to go. And now that the VFL is not happening because of lockdown, those players that aren't playing aren't getting any fitness. So there's a risk. Who do you bring in if you drop Max King, if you want to rest him? Maybe you play Josh Battle at full forward with Membry and have that same structure. But again, is that really much of an upgrade on what we've got at the moment? Daniel says, I don't think we're far off. Fix up goal kicking. Another year of playing together with King maturing. Gresh and Marshall back in. Very disappointing this year, but we'll be right. Good comment, Daniel. I know we get caught up in the emotion, and I'm obviously very prone to doing that. But yeah, there is a lot to come from the players that are missing. That drive from Zach Jones, the ability for Marshall to go forward and support Paddy in the middle. Gresham, although he's got his clanger issues, he's a very good clearance player. Dan Hanbury with that experience, and he's a very good kick of the footy as well, like Brad Hill. There's a lot of players missing. We can't forget Ben Patton in the back half. There was the composure that Patton brings. And, we've got Highmore in the team. Caulfield finding some form. And I thought Cough was pretty good today, to be honest. I thought he did some really nice things. He was confident, took some good marks, threw his body on the line. That was one of his best games of the season. And then you've got Clavanero, who is in his second game and he's playing against one of the all-time best forwards in Buddy Franklin. Not directly on him, but around him, and that's enough to make any youngster worried. But I thought he took some good intercept marks, took some, laid some really big tackles, got a few free kicks, and, we can't really pin him on that one mistake he made late. That's just something that young players do, and he shouldn't have been in that position in the first place. It was just a bad kick from Dunstan. Alistair says, stop talking about the goal kicking. They kick more points. Not sure what game you watched, Alistair, but there were at least 4 or 5 that were rush behinds from our end. So they didn't actually miss as many as it looked. There were a lot of punched rush behinds from us. So have a look at the game again, mate, and then rethink that comment. Swans were pretty ordinary. That's from Peter. They weren't at their best, but the one thing that hurt us so much in this game was that early I thought we did it well. We clogged up the corridor. That's Sydney to a T. I said it in my preview last night. The way Sydney will want to beat us and the way they've gotten on top of a lot of teams this season is they go out wide, but then they have a player overlap on their inside, and then that gives them that either the player running through the centre to go long to the forward line or the short kick into the middle, and then they turn and overlap. And that's what Sydney got. That's how they got their lead 3 or 4 times in the game. They went through the middle, they took the game on, and we couldn't stop them. When we got on top and found ways to get 2 or 3 goals in a row and actually bring the margin back to under a goal or 7-6 points around that mark, it was because we clogged them up again and got our outside game going. When we were on top, they couldn't go through the middle, and when they were on top, we couldn't go through the middle, and they were running rings around us and making it look very easy. But the best part was we never let it blow out. We kept fighting, we only really have ourselves to blame for losing that game. We can't say that Sydney outplayed us. We just couldn't kick straight. And I know it's like a broken record talking about it, but that's really what the game came down to in the end, was a couple of missed shots by us. Clavarino, not Clavanero. That's from Nick. Yeah, thanks for that, mate. It's a big difference in me get his name slightly wrong. I know that drives you mad, and that'll keep you up all night. So apologies for that, Nick. Thanks for that. Tim says, great effort by the boys. Got to get better in front of the big sticks. Get Plugger down to Moorabbin to sort this huge issue out. Exactly right. Fair call there from Tim. We need an expert. Get Matthew Lloyd there, not just to help Max King. Get him to help the whole bloody team. Pay him, as a part-timer, 1 or 2 days a week, and just get him down there to play to help the club. That's the only way we can get someone like Matthew Lloyd down there and not say he's an outside voice. Make him part of the club. Invite him in. He's not a Saint, ex-Sainter. Get bloody G-Train. He was a beautiful left foot kick like Matthew Lloyd. Get him down. Get Plugger down. There's so many options there. We don't want to just keep going through the motions and lose all these games off the back of missing goals when there are so many solutions out there that we could try. At least try. If it doesn't work out, fair enough. But get him in. Is that really going to hurt the development of our players taking shots? I really doubt it. We're the worst kicking team in the comp. 30% accuracy in front of goal this year. It's deplorable. So over saying, next year. That's from Nathan. Me too, mate. There's always next week. There's always next year. When the hell is it going to be our year? We need to take the game by the balls and just make the opportunity happen. We're hoping it happens. We need to make it happen. But right now, it's going to be very tough for us to make anything of this season. Let's just hope that we can go out next week and get the win and just keep that chance alive. Catherine says, people need to ease off King. No wonder he lacks confidence. Listen to you lot. Yeah, I think some people forget that he's only in his second real season of AFL football, getting the number 1 defender every week. Not to mention that he also wears the number 12. He's always compared to his brother, and he's always compared to living up to Nick Riewoldt. So imagine that. We can't possibly relate to that situation. We can't. But what we can do is support him, hope that we get the best out of him. I thought that when he took that mark late in the last quarter that that was going to turn and just give him that bit of confidence and give the team the confidence to go to him more. But that was the last mark he took for the day. But what he did do was he created he milked it, but he created a goal for Josh Battle. He took a mark, missed a goal late, or got a hole in the ball, and he set up Membry and smothered the ball and handball to Membry at the top of the goal square to set up a goal at an important time in the game too. So he set up 2 other goals and missed one himself. So he could have had a hand in 3 or 4 goals for the day, and that to me is job done. But we just need to persist with him until we get the best out of him. Because when we get the best out of Max King, I think that's going to be when we are seriously contending. But right now, he's just a young player that's lacking confidence and has the weight of the world on his shoulders. And I genuinely don't think dropping him or resting him is going to do anything. He's still going to have that pressure. And if I were him, I would want to find form at AFL level. There's no point dropping him to VFL and then he kicks 10 and then you bring him in and he plays the same way. To me, that's just a waste of talent. We want him to make it at AFL level. There's no point him going to VFL and beating up on all the youngsters. If King listens to the game, his confidence will be a lot worse than it already is. Yeah, if he reads the comments, it'll definitely be a lot worse than it already is, that's for sure. Jake to coach the forward line, that's from Kieran. Mate, I think Joyce's actually got a video ready to go of how to kick straight, so I hope he posts it tonight, or we'll get him to do it and explain it over the podcast. But he's got a video ready, I know for a fact, and I'll be honest, I'm not a bad set shot myself, so I might even do it myself, and we'll do a live tutorial to the boys on how to kick straight from all angles. But the pressures of AFL football is unreal. You're running all day, but at the end of the day, every other team seems to kick clutch goals when they count, and it's not just this year or last year. It's in a 09 grand final, first half, 25 more inside 50s, and we go in behind because we couldn't kick straight. There's so many other big games in our history that have cost us because of bad goal kicking. So it's not just this year. It's just kind of a historical thing for the club that we've never seemingly, gotten close to addressing. Let's see what we got. Spot on Jay here. It's from Catherine. Andrews has been saying next year for 40 years. No more. If it happens, it happens. More important shit now in life. Club is cooked. Yeah, fair call, mate. I don't think the club's cooked. I mean, maybe for this season it is, but I wouldn't say you got to lose hope for the future. Melbourne have shown that they can turn it around very quickly. Their list looked shot a year ago. In 18 they made a prelim and then fell off the face of the earth. So a lot can change in football, but everyone that talks shit about the club that then comes to me and says, mate, you're delusional about being supportive. You all seem smart because we're losing. Hindsight's a fantastic thing. But the second we start winning, you all go silent. So I've just got to cop all these negative comments. It's just kind of how it is. The club has to do the same, but we don't have to listen to them. So you keep voicing your opinion, but you all sound smart because we lose. And that's just taking the easy road. I'm going to back the boys in. I hope a lot more Saners back the boys in. Today, we should have won. We should have beaten Geelong. And, it's just... There's no point losing sleep over it. I'm going to try my best not to watch the replay again because you're just going to see all those misses and be really upset about it. Dan Butler needs a rest. Look, he started well. He had a few chances early. He kicked that important goal, I think, in the third quarter, a good left foot snap. He looked to back himself a lot more in the contest. He didn't have his best game, but I thought he had a bit more confidence about himself, and he laid 6 tackles, which is, if he's not kicking a lot of goals, that's the next best thing. He lays 6 tackles. Our other small has 7 shots on goal and has 12 marks. I don't know what else you want from a small, and I think, dropping Jack Loney was the right call, and we're going to back Butler and Higgins in for the rest of the season. I think it's all about what our tools do. We rely so heavily on our tools. In a lot of our wins last year, if you look back at, Port Adelaide, the final against the Dogs, the GWS win, Ryder has blinders, Marshall has blinders, King kicks straight and plays well, Battle's marking a lot, Membry's marking a lot. We've got, I think probably the most reliant game plan in the AFL with our tools. You know, no other team, not even West Coast, and they play with a lot more tools than us. They don't really rely on them as much as us. I feel like we rely on Marshall and Ryder, and today our talls didn't mark the ball, but it was our small in Higgins that played tall and marked the ball, and he was constantly on the move. He was fantastic to watch. It reminded me of Milne, the way he just led up at the ball. He took a lot of good marks, and the only downside was that tonight out of all nights, he just couldn't kick straight, and he's generally been one of the straighter kickers for us this year. Thoughts on Timmy playing in the back, Jakey? Was interesting to see, but with his super glue hands, I loved it. That's from Catherine. I loved it, but it just seemed like he did it too late in the second or was it the first term when we were 20 points down or something. It was early in the game. I wish he did it, 5 minutes earlier when, he seems to do it when we're already coughing up goals. I wish he did it after 1 or 2 and not after 3 or 4. But, what he does there is he stops the flow, but then because we don't have Marshall up the ground and Paddy's not at the contest every 5 minutes, we had no one to kick it to. So at that point, we just gave Sydney a lot of repeat entries because there was no outlet kick, and you need Max King to be that outlet kick, but tonight he couldn't mark anything, and that's been kind of him across the season, and that hurts you because the ball just comes to ground, Sydney reset, and they keep peppering at the goals. But I thought in the third term, what we did well was just keep pressuring them when they had it in their forward line, and they couldn't get a clean handball out and they couldn't kick easy goals. And we went down the other end and kicked a goal, I think through Butler. So that showed we had some composure. We were able to, absorb the heat that they were giving us and bring it back. And that's something we haven't done all season. Usually when teams are getting repeat entries, they're kicking a lot of goals. But tonight, they didn't do that. And I thought that was a good sign of maturity, but might be too little too late for our season, but who knows. Susie's asking why are people putting nasty comments. It's because we lost. Simple as that. People get emotional. I'm one of them. It hurts. The final siren went. I honestly didn't even listen to the final siren. I turned the TV off, came back in here and prepped for the review because I just didn't want to see Sydney celebrating because they got away with one and it made me sick. So people are just upset. Emotions get the better of you, and I think it's because Saints fans know that feeling too well, more than any other supporter base in the competition. We know disappointment better than any other supporter base, and that's what upsets everyone the most. If this was a one-off and we're used to winning, it's totally fine, but it's because we know this feeling almost every second week, and that's the most upsetting thing, I think. I'm not even reading that out, Harry. What do you think about trading? Oh, I'll read it out. What do you think about trading Caulfield Clark for Bruce? Yeah, clear troll there, mate. But yeah, that's not happening. You're smoking something there, mate, and I don't want any part of that. I might leave it there, guys. It's just a tough one to take. To me, it reminds me of the feeling I had after the West Coast loss last year, late in the season, when I thought if we lose that game, we don't make finals. Luckily enough, results went our way that round, and we beat GWS the next week, and we snuck in, and we all know how the rest of the season panned out there, winning a final and losing to Richmond. But yeah, that's the same feeling I get again, but I don't know if our luck's going to turn around, and I don't know if the season's going to finish the way last season finished, but we're just going to hope that we just put ourselves in a position that if any other teams cough up losses, a lot of teams are inconsistent like us. Richmond tonight, we'll see how they go against Essendon. One of those two teams is going to lose, and they're both just a bit above us. But yeah, obviously finals is going to be very tough from here and almost impossible with our percentage. But yeah, we've just got to keep fighting, supporting the boys. Hopefully they rock up next week and take on Adelaide and get the win in Cairns. And then we go in the bye and hopefully get Rowan Marshall and Zach Jones back, because we know how different we are with those players in the team. If we win every game for the rest of the year, we might make finals, but obviously that's pretty delusional. We're going to lose some games, but we just want the boys to bring the consistent effort that they showed for 4 quarters today that got them into a position to win. We just want them to kick straight because they deserved the reward today. They worked hard. The hardest thing is when you're playing well and you're not getting the reward. That's worse than if you're playing shit and losing badly, because you crave the reward. You do so much right only for for you to miss an easy goal and then the opposition go down the other end because you're cooked and they kick a goal and seal the game, that's a massive, punch to the guts and slap in the face and all that. So it's a tough loss. It hurts. I'm really upset, and it's going to take a bit to get over it. Can't wait for the podcast on Tuesday to dissect it with Marshy and Joyce, and we can kind of get over it and move on to Adelaide. But I appreciate everyone for tuning in, and hopefully you all have a great Saturday night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I know it's not the result we wanted. The boys put themselves in a bloody good position to take it, and they just couldn't do it in the end. They couldn't kick straight. We gave ourselves a chance, and unfortunately they just couldn't kick straight when it counted. But until next week, guys, thanks again for watching. This will be up on YouTube, the full replay. So if you tuned in late and you didn't get to watch the whole thing, head up to YouTube, subscribe to Saints TV there. It'll also be on saintstv.com.au, and the podcast will be out Tuesday night around 8:30 p.m. So stay tuned for that with Marshy and Joycey. But until then, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you next Thursday night to preview the Adelaide game in Cairns. But until then, guys, take care and go you mighty Saints.